Hello, my name is Brant Hunt. I've got a video for you tonight. Today is the 5th day of February 2026. It didn't seem like that long ago we were celebrating the first day of January of the new year. So we're going to be reading from a particular book here called Kabbalah and Exodus, which is by a gentleman. I'll share in a minute. What the title is simply is Degeneration of Knowledge from Exodus 29. And Zeb Ben Shimon Holiday is the guy who's wrote this book. He wrote other books, quite a few of them, in fact. And this is one of them. It's Kabbalah and Exodus. Thank you. If the tabernacle represents the created world of the universe and the vestments of the priests, the bodies of man, the rituals specified on the mountain relate to the unification of the two. Here, however, we have to remember that the scriptures may have been modified by the priestly code inserted during or after the first exile to Babylon, or for around the 6th century BCE, which has many elements of priestcraft. To perceive this, one must examine the text with a critical eye and not believe that everything in the Bible is only Holy Writ. Such a view is usually held by those without esoteric knowledge or a grasp of the historical background of the scriptures. The Bible was certainly inspired by God, but human beings who possess different levels of comprehension have translated what they understood, and this in turn has been altered by scribes and copyists who have diluted, omitted, and even added certain texts. The result is that the written canon is only the rabbis agree, a fragment of its original content. An example of this phenomenon is witnessed in the 29th chapter of Exodus. Some portions of it are based upon Moses' revelation, but the rest is probably the addition of a scribe who is more preoccupied with the elaborate ceremony than its meaning. Blood sacrifice may well have been the authentic ritual form at that time, but the preoccupation with details like the long lobe of the liver and what to do with the kidneys clearly has more connection with priestcraft than with higher knowledge. The experience of spiritual reality, some psychological common sense, and a little scholarship soon begins to separate out what is authentic. In the opening verses, a young bull and 2 rams without blemish are to be brought forward at the beginning of the consecration of Aaron and his sons. So too are unleavened loaves, cakes, and wafers, all mixed or smeared with oil. Here we have the animal and vegetable kingdoms. Then the initiatives are to be ushered into the court of the tabernacle. That is out of the outer physical world into the lower psychological level. There they stand before the entrance to the tent where the 3 lower worlds meet. Here they are washed at the laver or the ego position. Aaron is then dressed in a sequence of vestments, beginning with the undergarments and finishing with the turban and plate of holy dedication on the head. This investiture is symbolic of evolutionary process of the body, soul, and spirit. The anointing with oil represents the divine grace coming down over Aaron's crown. The same sequence of initiation is then to be applied to his sons. The rank of priesthood is said in the text to be held forever, but here we must recall that many priests abused their position so that the priestly caste was eventually to lose the respect of the people through its corrupt ways and interest in worldly power. With the destruction of the Second Temple by the Romans, their influence was reduced to a token. This raises the question, who is the author of the words? Quote, and the priest's office shall be theirs for perpetual statute, end quote, in Exodus 29-9. Was it a divine instruction or a priest protecting his privilege? Next in the text comes the slaughter of the bull and the consecration of the altar with its blood, after which comes the burning of the fat, livers, and kidneys. I should say not livers, but liver. The skin and offal are to be destroyed outside the camp. This raises the question, why is the death of the animal necessary? Besides its function as a food offering to the deity, the ancients believed that a ritual killing heightened the senses, as the release of the vitality of the sacrifice affected those present at the moment of death. This phenomenon was used to raise the level of celebrants so as to perceive a glimpse into the next world, as many present as at a death have experienced. The choice of a bull was because it was the epitome of physical power and abundance. It was also seen as a symbol of what is to be given up in order to attain access to the higher worlds and states. The organs burned at the altar represented the transubstantiation of earthly materiality into a subtle anatomy. The burning of the skin and offal outside the camp is the recognition in ritual that not all that is offered can be transmuted because it is of the outer or lower world. Therefore, it is taken out of the court and camp to be returned to the elementary realms of earth. The two rams were then to be slaughtered. The first was another burnt food offering to placate the deity, while the second ram's blood was put on the right ears, thumbs, and toes of Aaron and his sons before it also was flung against the altar. This again, probably the description of a symbolic ceremony that had become corrupted by priests who with no longer knew anything more than the outer form. The text goes on to describe how the ram's blood should be sprinkled over Aaron and his sons, that is their vestments, that they might become holy. This is an account of an event that at one time must have had much more to it than what is described, if its purpose was really to make a man and his garments become holy. These rituals are forms of high magic in that the physical performance of certain actions evokes the occult powers of the psychological world. However, magic, or the art of manipulating the world of formation, no matter how efficiency, is not of the same order as the miraculous, which is the spiritual power of the world of creation. Magic, as pointed out earlier, is of an inferior order because it has only one contact, at the very crown of formation, with the divine, and this connection more magicians avoid because they want only to exercise their own will. This is why magic was fiercely discouraged in Israel. The rest of this chapter is mostly concerned with the detailing of the rituals. It describes what is to be done with the ram's innards and right leg, the breast, and the head, and how that which is not burned as a food offering shall belong to Aaron and his sons. Here again, objective eye must consider the elements of self-interest that was to creep into priestly conduct over the centuries. Time was to prove again and again that they were subject to moral rather than spiritual motivations. After a 7-day initiation of the priestly caste, the text moves on to the more routine sacrifices. Here are described the creatures and objects to be used and at what time of day they should be offered. A precise recipe, for example, for one sacrifice is set down in verse 39 and 40. The literate effect is closer to a badly edited instruction manual than a document of divine revelation. It is only in the last verse of this chapter that Revelation once again breaks forth in the promise that God's will meet Moses at the tabernacle after it has been sanctified, and Aaron and his sons have been consecrated. The words, quote, "and I will dwell among the children of Israel and be their God," end quote, raises the whole level out of the trivial. The final verse, quote, "and they shall know that I am Yahweh, Elohim," takes the text right up to the original quality. Here is a much useful exercise for an individual must learn to recognize the difference between levels in his studies and have the integrity, that is, integrity to act upon conclusions based on personal experiences, not hearsay, however repeatable. So that's the end of chapter 34 tonight. And appreciate you being here. This again, my channel is Discerning What is True. Degeneration of Knowledge from Exodus 29 from the book of Kabbalah and Exodus, or Kabbalah, however way you want to speak of it. And so thank you for being here. And we'll talk to you soon. Take care.